what is your take on just my overall sensibility that something's gone more awry than even usual in the last couple of weeks? Am I right, or am I overreacting?
Uh, I don't know. You're not wrong, but I guess my question, because I was thinking about what you were saying, and I want to ask you, because you said that Charlie Kirk kind of brought this on. Am I correct? And I want to know why you think that that is why we are here versus and why it wasn't like the triple murder of like a politician and her family. And if it's because of celebrity, then are we actually in anything very new? Is celebrity what's going to determine the crisis that we are in, the level of celebrity? Because that was a real political murder with a political hit list. I mean, not that
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk wasn't, but this did happen a couple months ago. So I guess I'm wondering why. What is the difference?
You talking about Minnesota?
Yeah, the Minnesota House Speaker, her
Yeah.
husband, and her dog, who I count as
Yeah.
as
Well,
murder.
it's certainly part of the conversation. I don't mean to minimize that obviously at all. I think
No, I know you don't, but
celebrity
it's part of
yeah,
what's going on.
so celebrity is part of it. The fact that it was a public event, we've not seen graphically what happened in that house in Minnesota. We just haven't seen it, right? So it's less vivid. But but we hadn't heard of her and her dog and her husband before she was killed, right? So she doesn't really mean anything to us as a society. Again, I'm not minimizing her death. It's horrible. But
Yeah,
but there's no national connection to her. She didn't have tens of millions of people connected to her.
no, I know,
Uh,
but that is kind of a shame though, only
yeah,
because she was a public servant and she was killed in the name of public service. She
yeah,
was killed in the name of her service.
100%, 100%. I will say this. Here's a reason, which is not a good reason, right? I'm talking about the difference between what is and what ought to be.
Yeah,
The left did not try to make that into a national conversation about the evils of the right and the verbal and violent excesses of the right. Your side just didn't do that, and you can speculate as to why. But from the day Charlie Kirk was killed, the right has made it their business to say there's blood on the hands of the left. I don't know why your party didn't do that in that case, but I think that's a big
yeah,
part of it.
I think you're
So
right.
it's all those things. But again, I struggle with this so much, and then Drew's going to weigh in on my thesis. Again, I go back. We don't know the motive of the assassin in Butler.
Right.
Like all of this jumping to conclusion about the meaning of different assassination attempts or assassinations. We just don't know
But then
enough about the people.
do you think it's fair that there's a lot of on one network, there's a lot of they did this and they did this, and a lot of they and what do you make of that? Because that is making things a lot worse.
I'm not into it, but
Yeah.
I'm also not minimizing it because, and this goes back, and this is where Drew will be so useful to the media. This 2-on-1 thing is such a big deal. It's such a big deal. And Michael, your party, you're one of the people who understands this. The two
Yeah.
on one thing, most people in your party won't admit the 2-on-1 thing,
Oh
but
no.
but
Yeah.
but the 2-on-1 thing really causes people in red media to say because it's like a cry in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Like the media is not going to tell you this, so we have to.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. I've said this several times, and Drew, thank you for your patience. Let me just make one more point, and then you talk as long as you want. Charlie Kirk had the right not screamed, the press would not have covered it, and they still did not cover it commensurate to how they should have or the way they should have. Half the coverage in the New York Times is about what a bad guy Charlie Kirk is, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Drew, go wherever you want,
Mark,
but start, and thank you for being here. Start with this
of course.
question of, are we in the midst of something that's escalated beyond what we've experienced for the last 10 years, or am I overreacting?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I think there's a couple things going on here. One, to your point about the media, I think one of the reasons why this has alarmed so many people has triggered this kind of national conversation we're having about political violence and violence in society and all the ways all these things intersect is that broad strokes of the American public don't trust the people whose role it is to provide the lens onto what's happening and why it matters to do that well. And I think there's a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, maybe sometimes misplaced, certainly, right? I'm one of the first, I think, on my side to throw up my hands and say, hey, enemy of the people is not a helpful phrase, right? Like we should be trying to engineer a better media. And I think our frustration should drive us to that. But I think people are so mad and they're so fed up that it's a reason that they're kicking over tables, and it's a reason that they're so upset. And it's a reason why and it's effective in forcing the conversation of, why is this happening? Why is someone shot dead in front of a giant crowd of college students for his opinions, even if folks don't agree with those opinions, right? Setting aside the merits of the opinions, why does that happen in our country? And this takes me to a point that I've kind of been chewing on for a couple of days. I'm not positive I'm right on it, but I think one of the reasons why Kirk's assassination has triggered such a nerve in a way that the killings in Minnesota didn't, and quite frankly, even that the attempted assassination of Donald Trump and Butler didn't, is that there's something specifically alarming when it is an activist or a non-political, a non-elected politician. I think, and this is going to come off as maybe a little crass or maybe a little unfeeling, but there's almost something bound up in seeking public office, that there are other sacrifices you'll have to make, that things could go sideways, that things could go bad. That shouldn't be the case. So from a moral lens, I obviously do not think that is reasonable and that should be the case. But I think people expect more when those sorts of awful, tragic things happen. And I saw someone in the chat had mentioned, Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. I know he had already been elected, but Bobby Kennedy's assassination in '68. When you look at
Harvey
these
Milk.
events of, yeah, right, Harvey, like when you look at these events where you have someone who is killed not for their overawing political decisions, not for the things that they have done that many people might be very upset with, but for their words. I think that strikes a different type of nerve. And I think on the right in particular, it struck a serious nerve because there are lots of people, I think, who are people like me, who are conservatives, who have lots of opinions that they're usually very comfortable to share in all sorts of audiences that may not feel the same way, that are more on the defensive, right? I am very milk toast, I think, when it comes to a lot of punchy, big, divisive political issues. I am not a fire breather. I'm not a firebrand. I'm not very smash mouth. I think for people who are a little bit closer to that edge, it's got to be really, really alarming that someone who they look at and see, that is the best version of what I could be doing, and they were killed in public as a result of doing that.
This episode brought to you by Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth makes incredible sheets, bedding, shirts, and the pants, which you hear me talk about all the time. And we'd like you to be able to experience the comfort and joy of Cozy Earth products. The bedding comes with a 100-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty, but you won't need those. You'll want to keep it. Go to CozyEarth.com right now. Use the promo code TWOWAY. Save 40% off. 40% off the entire site. Couldn't be more comfortable. And as you heard me say before, you can wear the pants anywhere. I have another dinner tonight out. I wouldn't say it's super fancy, but it's a little fancy, and I'll be wearing the pants. And people just either not notice them or notice them and say how nice they look. Cozy Earth products are viscose made from bamboo. They're very breathable, very comfortable, but again, they look great, very soft. Go to CozyEarth.com right now. Use the code TWOWAY, 40% off the best pants, shirts, everything. And do a post-purchase survey. Tell them you heard about Cozy Earth right here. That'll help us out. So please do that. Built for real life, made to keep up with yours, Cozy Earth. Thank you for your attention to that matter. They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the Two-Way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America. And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.